Namaste everyone, welcome back to my channel Physio Vitals. I am Dr. Ankita Sawan and today I am back with a new topic on cardiac muscles, the powerhouse of the heart. So in this video, I am going to cover the physiology of the cardiac muscle. So the cardiac muscle is a specialized tissue which is found in the heart, which is responsible for pumping the blood throughout the body, which we all know. This presentation will delve into the intricacies of the cardiac muscles physiology. So first we'll look into the anatomy, basic anatomy of the cardiac muscle. The cardiac muscle cells, myocardium, endocardium and epicardium. So the striated appearance, see, under a microscope, cardiac muscle looks stripped or striated like skeletal muscle. But its fibers are branched, which helps the heart to contract as a unit. There is an involuntary movement control happening. Unlike the muscles which we can control, cardiac muscles are involuntary. So it works automatically, pumping the blood without you thinking about it. So these are the branched striated cells which are connected by intercalated discs, which facilitates rapid signal transmission. So this intercalated disc, it's the one of the most important features. So these are the special junctions between cells that help synchronize heart's contraction. So these intercalated discs are the special junctions between the cells that helps synchronize the heart's contractions and allow electrical signals to pass quickly from one muscle cell to another. Now the single nucleus. So each cardiac muscle cells has a single nucleus and they are packed tightly together to help them contract efficiently. So the cardiac muscle is resistant to fatigue because of its high mitochondrial content. There is continuous energy production. This provides the heart with lot of energy as ATP is continuously supplied, making sure it keeps beating continuously. Okay. Whereas the myocardium, it is the middle layer of the heart wall, which composed primarily of cardiac muscles, which is responsible for heart's contractile force. Very important, force. Endocardium and epicardium are the inner and outer layers of the heart wall respectively, providing structural support and protection for the myocardium. So basic anatomy has been covered here. Next we are going to see contraction and relaxation of the cardiac muscle. So the contraction of the systole is basically very produced by the action potential generation. So the cardiac muscle contraction is initiated by electrical impulses that originates from SA node. We all know from SA node it goes to AV node. So this electrical impulse is originated from SA node, often called as heart's natural pacemaker. So action potential, the SA node generates an electrical signal that travels through the heart muscle via the atrioventricular node, okay, atrioventricular node down the bundle of His and into the Purkinje fibers. So first from SA node, the electrical impulse travels through the heart muscles via atrioventricular node down to the bundle of His into the Purkinje fibers, right and left bundle branches. So next is calcium influx. This electrical impulse triggers the opening of the calcium channels in the cardiac muscle cells. Calcium ions flood into the cells from sarcoplasmic reticulum, initiating contraction. Okay, then sliding filament theory is there. The increase in calcium concentration allows for the interaction between two key proteins, actin and myosin, we all know. This is the structure of sarcomere. So the myosin heads attracts the actin filament, and through a process called the sliding filament mechanism, they pull the actin filaments inward, shortening the muscle fibers and causing contraction. So the synchronized contraction of the cardiac muscle cells causes the heart's chamber to squeeze, pushing blood out of the heart. This is known as ventricular systole, during which the blood is ejected from the ventricles into the arteries. So this was the contraction. We'll see relaxation now. So the sliding filament theory I covered, excitation contraction coupling I covered. Now we'll see the relaxation. Now after contraction, the heart muscle must relax to allow the chambers to refill with blood for the next cycle. This occurs in following steps. First, calcium removal. There was influx of calcium while contraction. So for relaxation we need efflux of the calcium. After contraction, the calcium ions are quickly pumped back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum and out of the cardiac muscle cells. This reduction in calcium concentration stops the interaction between the actin and myosin, allowing the muscle to relax. So they take their own position now. First the myosin was pulling the actin close and the contraction was happening. Here the calcium is getting effluxed and myosin releases the actin and they go back to their original state, and then the muscle is relaxed. As calcium level drops, the muscle fibers return to their resting length. So this process allows the heart chambers to expand, creating a vacuum that draws the blood back into the atria and ventricles. During the relaxation phase, the ventricles refill with blood from the atria in preparation for next contraction. See, the process of cardiac muscle contraction and relaxation is closely linked with excitation contraction coupling. So where the electrical impulses, which is called excitation, triggers the mechanical contraction, this precise coordination is crucial for maintaining a steady heart rhythm. We'll also see autonomic regulation. So the heart's contraction and relaxation is controlled by autonomic nervous system, we all know. The sympathetic nervous system, which is a part of autonomic, sympathetic, parasympathetic. So sympathetic nervous system increases the heart rate and the strength of contraction during stress and exercise, fight or flight response. Whereas the parasympathetic nervous system slows down the heart rate during rest and digest state. Now, the cardiac muscle contraction, the systole, is driven by electrical impulses that causes calcium influx, which leads to interaction of actin myosin. This results in hearts contracting to pump blood. Whereas relaxation, which is called as diastole, occurs when the calcium is removed, allowing the muscle fibers to return to their resting state and the heart chambers fill with blood. This contraction relaxation cycle is critical for continuous blood circulation. Now moving further, the cardiac conduction now. So the conducting system is a network of specialized cells in the heart that generates and transmits electrical impulses, ensuring the heart contracts in a coordinated manner to pump blood efficiently. So this system controls the rhythmic heartbeat and maintains a regular heart rate. So first we'll see the sinoatrial node. So often referred to as pacemakers, there are natural pacemakers of the heart. The SA node is located in the right atrium near the opening of superior vena cava. It generates the electrical impulse at a regular rate, usually 60 to 90 beats per minute in a healthy adult. So these impulses cause the atria to contract, pushing the blood into the ventricles. So this was a part of SA node. Moving further to the atrioventricular node. So it is located at the junction between the atria and the ventricle near the interatrial septum. So after the SA node generates an impulse, the electrical signal passes through the atrial muscles to the AV node. So AV node slows down the electrical signal, allowing time for a ventricle to fill with blood before they contract. This delay is crucial for efficient blood pumping. Next we have is bundle of His and Purkinje fibers. So from AV node, the electrical signals move into the bundle of His, a collection of specialized fibers located in interventricular septum. Bundle of His transmits the signal to the ventricles and divides into two branches, the right and the left. Okay, left bundle branches. Whereas the Purkinje fibers, the bundle branch leads to a network of fibers called the Purkinje fibers, which spread throughout the wall of the ventricles. So these fibers rapidly contract the electrical impulses to the ventricular muscle cells, causing the ventricles to contract from bottom up, pushing the blood out of the heart into the aorta, left ventricle, and pulmonary artery from right ventricle. So in conducting system we have SA node, AV node, bundle of His and Purkinje fibers. So the sequence of electrical impulse transmission, we saw SA node, AV node, bundle of His, right, and Purkinje fibers, right and left bundle branches, and Purkinje fibers. So moving further to the regulation of the cardiac muscle function. First, the regulation of the cardiac muscle function is a complex process which is controlled by both intrinsic and extrinsic mechanisms to ensure the heart pumps blood effectively in response to the body's needs. So this regulation is essential for maintaining a proper heart rate, contractile strength and blood flow during varying physiological conditions such as exercise, rest or stress. So intrinsic regulation, Frank-Starling's law. So heart has its own built-in mechanism to regulate its function, so which primarily revolves around the Frank-Starling's law and the cardiac conduction system. So first we'll see the Frank-Starling's law. So this principle states that the strength of the heart's contraction is directly proportional to the initial length of the cardiac muscle fiber. Strength of the heart's contraction is directly proportional to the initial length of the cardiac muscle fibers. In simpler terms, the more the heart muscle is stretched by blood filling the chambers, especially the ventricles, the stronger will be the contraction. This ensures that the heart can automatically adjust to varying volumes of blood returning to it. Okay? Now, automaticity and rhythmicity. The cardiac muscle can generate electrical impulses without external input, thanks to specialized pacemakers, SA nodes, cells. So these intrinsic rhythm ensures that the heart beats consistently. Whereas the extrinsic regulations we'll see now, heart's function is also controlled by external factors, autonomic nervous system and hormonal regulation. So the sympathetic and parasympathetic is a part of autonomic nervous system. Branches of the autonomic nervous system regulates the heart's activity to adapt to changing conditions. Sympathetic nervous system increases the heart rate, positive chronotropy. Sympathetic stimulation increases the firing rate of SA node, resulting in a faster heart rate, increases the contractility. Sympathetic stimulation also strengthens the force of contraction by increasing calcium influx into the cardiac cells. Next is increased conduction speed. The conduction of electrical signals through the AV node and the entire cardiac muscle becomes faster under sympathetic influence. So this response occurs during stress, physical activity or emotional excitement, preparing the heart to pump more blood to meet the body's increased oxygen demand, fight or flight response. Parasympathetic nervous system via the vagus nerve decreases the heart rate. Parasympathetic stimulation slows down the SA node firing, leading to slower heart rate, decreases the contractibility, which has a mild effect on reducing the contractility of the heart. Then slow conduction also slows down the electrical conductions through AV node, ensuring the heart rate is decreases during rest. Hormonal regulation, on the other hand, see, epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline, noradrenaline. So these hormones released by adrenal glands during stress and exercise. During stress and exercise, mimic the effects of sympathetic nervous system stimulation. They increase the heart rate, enhance the strength of contraction, and boost the cardiac output. Okay, so increases the heart rate, adrenaline, noradrenaline, enhances the strength of contraction, boosts the cardiac output. Thyroid hormone now. Thyroxine and triiodothyronine, T4, T3, increases the metabolic rate of cells, including heart cells. These hormones can increase the heart rate and the force of contraction over a longer period, contributing to overall heart health and function. Then we have renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, RAAS. So these hormonal system is crucial in regulating blood pressure and fluid balance. When blood volume or pressure drops, the system RAAS system is activated, leading to vasoconstriction and increased blood volume, which rises blood pressure and indirectly affects the heart's workload and performance. We have baroreceptors and chemoreceptor reflexes. So the baroreceptor, these pressure sensitive sensors located in the carotid arteries and aortic arc, detects changes in blood pressure. While blood pressure rises, baroreceptors trigger a reflex that slows the heart rate and reduces contractility, and vice versa. Whereas chemoreceptors, these sensors respond to changes in blood oxygen, carbon dioxide, and pH levels. When oxygen level drops or carbon dioxide level rises, such as during exercise, chemoreceptors signal the heart to increase its rate and contractility to pump more oxygenated blood. So we saw autonomic nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic, we saw hormonal. Okay, so now before moving to calcium, we'll see electrical regulation, excitation, contraction, coupling, which I already have covered. It has a main role of calcium in it. So calcium is released during electrical excitation. Calcium is released into the cardiac cells, triggering the contraction, allowing actin myosin to interact. That was contraction. Whereas calcium reuptake is after contraction, the calcium is pumped back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum, allowing the muscles to relax, which we have already covered. Okay, now temperature and metabolic factors also we have in this. So as increase in body temperature during a fever or exercise generally increases the heart rate, while a decrease in temperature lowers the heart rate. Now metabolites, local metabolic products, carbon dioxide, hydrogen ions that accumulate during physical activity can cause local vasodilation. Vasodilation is basically increasing in the distension of the arteries, increasing blood flow to working muscles, and indirectly affects the cardiac output. Cardiac muscle metabolism and energy production. So cardiac muscle requires a constant energy supply to support continuous contraction. It primarily relies on aerobic metabolism and contains abundant mitochondria for efficient ATP production, which I already mentioned in the starting of this video. The heart generates ATP for multiple substrates, with fatty acids 60 to 70% being the main source during rest. So it also uses glucose, lactate and ketone bodies depending on the situation. Now oxidative phosphorylation in mitochondria is primary ATP production pathway. So ATP production is done by oxidative phosphorylation in mitochondria, while beta oxidation breaks down the fatty acid. During exercise, the heart shifts to using more glucose and lactate. In low oxygen conditions, ischemia, in return to anaerobic glycolysis, though this is a less efficient. The heart adapts to varying energy needs and uses regulatory mechanism like hormonal signals, example insulin or epinephrine, to optimize energy usage. The heart's reliance on aerobic metabolism ensures a continuous efficient energy supply, supporting its fatigue resistance and non-stop function. So aerobic metabolism, cardiac muscle relies primarily on aerobic metabolism using oxygen to produce ATP for energy, whereas fatty acid, it uses fatty acid as a fuel, but glucose is also a source of energy. So especially during exercise, it's a source of energy. Whereas mitochondria, these organelles, are abundant in cardiac muscle cells, reflecting the high energy demand of this cell. What are the common cardiac muscle disorders and diseases? Myocardial infarction, heart attack in layman term. So it damages the heart muscles due to blockage of the blood supply. If the arteries are blocked, the arteries won't supply the heart muscles. Heart muscles won't effectively work. If the muscles are not producing the excitation, contraction, coupling is not occurring due to damage in the muscles, there will be myocardial infarction. Next, heart failure. So your weakening of the heart muscles, reducing its ability to pump more effectively. So contraction is not that efficiently happening in heart failure. Cardiomyopathies. So disease affecting the heart muscles, causing thickening or weakening of the heart. So thank you for your attention. I hope this presentation provided a comprehensive understanding for cardiac muscle physiology. I have already covered a brief cardiac lecture, so I'll be providing that video in the description. So you can also check that video for overall heart anatomy, physiology, function. So this was particularly on the physiology of the heart. So I hope you like this video. Share, subscribe and like. Keep learning. God bless you all. Thank you.